Too many try to do it by themselves, and that is tough. You need teammates you can trust in. You need teammates that you can grow with. And that is by far the only reason that we have had the success that we have had.
You have a pretty crazy resume. You've been in the mortgage industry for 25 years, joined Fairway.
11 years ago,
11
I've
years
been with
ago,
Fairway.
You grew over $6 billion, which is the size of like an independent bank.
Stop selling. It's boring. Rather start telling. Too many agents leave the best part of their story on the shelf. That's what needs to be showing up on social. If your personal brand is not thriving out there on social, we all know that it's then dying. How much people are using AI and how much they're kind of using AI in the wrong way. That part scares me. We do risk everything becoming very step and repeat and copy and paste. I just don't want to see too many people just start to use AI, like I said, to think for themselves, and then all the, branding is going to be the same because it's just looping the internet. The companies that continue to talk to all and encourage all are going to be the ones that really make it and thrive. You can really build a team that can take you further than you ever imagined.
You have a pretty crazy resume, so I'm going to read it.
Oh, fine.
Just so I don't get anything wrong.
Okay.
You've been in the mortgage industry for 25 years, joined Fairway 14 years, about
11 years ago.
11
I've been
years
with
ago.
Fairway.
And then you grew Phoenix to be the number one branch in Maricopa County for over 7 years, which landed you the spot in the Southwest region, which you guys did over $6 billion, which is the size of like an independent bank.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then now former CMO of Fairway Mortgage moved into the president of Elevate, which we can get into like why Elevate and all that. But I'm curious, why do you do what you do?
It's easy. Passion by helping people. I truly have that aloha in my heart. It's in my DNA. I'm part Hawaiian. My family is incredible. And I have just always loved just being, a part of an ohana, part of a community, building community, but more than anything, just helping people grow, scale, see their worth, discover what they're made of, what the why is behind everybody. That's just always been who I am since day one. I think people who know me best or know me longest know that to be very true. So, that's simple right there.
So I'm curious, what did you learn about growing the branch, and what do most people get wrong in the mortgage industry about growth?
For sure. Most people get wrong because so many people are doing amazing things out there.
Yeah.
First and foremost, across this industry, in and outside of Fairway, it's not easy, and it hasn't been easy. And everybody knows that. But I think where everybody could really expand a little bit more is just leaning into a true team mentality. Too many try to do it by themselves, and that is tough. And this day and age, you need teammates, and you need teammates you can trust in. You need teammates that you can grow with. And that is by far the only reason that we have had the success that we have had is it is never, just one person. It has always been about a team of people. And I think the more that you can find your team in the beginning and pour into them and then start something from scratch together or at some sort of starting point and not give up on each other, that is when then I think even further growth happens. Because then when all of a sudden you're stepping into year 3 or 7 or year 10 together, you're just even more fired up and ready to rock and roll than having to constantly be retraining, re-explaining, what's the vision. These people, if you pour into them, your team from the get-go, it'll be so exciting because they know that. They felt it. They've grinded through it together. So that's what I think is one of the greatest parts about this industry is you can really build a team that can take you further than you ever imagined.
And when you say team, what does that kind of look like in different roles and departments? What?
So funny because I was thinking about that as I was saying and talking that I even am a part of several different teams and have, so many different incredible teams around me. But for instance, John Tobias, Rick Schnautz, myself, we've been a team, the three of us, for close to 14 years now.
Yeah.
So that's a team where, John was a team lead, loan officer, was creating, just a true mortgage team. It was the Tobias team. And he had Rick Schnautz, who was his right hand, still is to this day, operations manager. He had myself, marketing and biz dev. And the three of us together, along with incredible teammates of originators and processors, et cetera, we just kind of set out on a mission, and we became the number one team in Maricopa County for 7 years running, and that was the Tobias team. So that was under, a branch,
Yeah.
doing some really big business. John had some massive years, and so that in itself is a team,
Yeah.
right? Also, I have been fortunate enough to be able to create a marketing and business development team. Rick has been fortunate enough to create some of like the most incredible originators and sales leaders around him inside the branch to this day. That is a team. John has additional team members and who he leans in on through the executive team and other divisional leaders throughout the country. Like that's a team. So there's a lot of different,
Yeah.
pockets of teams. But I think um, in the mortgage space, period,
Hmm.
if we're talking about an independent single loan officer, to create a team and have that be your LO, a marketer, biz dev, whatever, and start to build that way, I think that there's so much power in that.
And I'm curious because you've seen it over the years. It's like mortgage, they try to do like the old school. They want to take people out to coffee, like
Yeah.
build it through there.
Hey, I've done my fair share of coffee dates. I promise you
not,
that.
not saying it doesn't work.
It works, that's for sure. But
I'm just curious, like from your perspective,
yeah.
from what you've learned, like what are the activities that you've seen that like actually work to grow like the mortgage business from a marketing and biz dev lens?
Yeah, for sure. I love these questions you're asking, by the way. Like, this is exciting stuff. Thank you again for being here. I could keep
Thank you.
talking about this. Like I said, I did many coffee dates.
Yeah.
I mean, my day back in the day was always started with a coffee meeting every single morning, and then you head straight into the office, crank out your work, you're going to meet for lunch, back to the office, happy hour, networking events, broker opens. Um, but it's hard.
Yeah.
When you think about your day and you can go have 5 coffee meetings Monday through Friday, right? Maybe if you're crazy, you're having 10, you're stopping a couple different coffee shops and appointments in the morning, but that like you can only do so much of that. And as, things evolved and marketing evolved and social evolved and everything, it started to become really clear and apparent. Kudos out to Miss Chelsea Pites, who I've met, gosh, practically 11 years ago or 12 years ago, before marketing was really a thing on social.
Hmm.
So I was watching her pave the way, and I'm lucky she's here in Phoenix. And we were doing business together. She was at a title company at the time, and we were networking. We were creating classes, and I was bringing her in as speakers, and everything just started to become really clear that agents needed additional value than just a cup of coffee. And then also, so did our loan officers,
Yeah.
right? Like they're needing the education and the training. So what really started to evolve was a few less coffee meetings and way more hands-on instruction, education, teaching, and just pouring back of you're not in this alone. Let's do it together. Let's start to figure out, what do all these platforms look like? How can you gain visibility, right?
Yeah.
Attract end consumers and really make a name for yourself with a personal brand that is going to go further than, hopping around to 5 different coffee shops 5 days a week. So
Yeah.
that is really the evolution of the coffee meeting started to be, as opposed to putting a folder in front of the agent, which I am that young. I am that old that that was what we used to do. Grab the folder, sit down, and it's like a piece of paper. Here are all the tools to help you grow your business. And, it's just evolved to so much more than that. Now it's like, hey, can you, out while we're networking, can you jump on a webinar? I'm hosting it next week. It's going to be on a topic you can't wait to hear about, right? I can't wait to share. Actually, that's true. We have a class dropping next week about cracks in content and how people can get stronger, and offering that kind of item of value.
Yeah.
And then they jump on webinar, and we're able to offer an item of value there and then follow up, call, connect, and just keep it going.
Yeah, because I think now the mortgage industry is starting to come around to the fact that like you can build a brand and have agents come to you.
Yeah.
And you can also potentially build another channel for it's like you're able to actually go towards the consumer too.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Both. It's like it's the consumer facing lens, and also it's like, how do we help a real estate agent? And listen, I'm a communication marketing major. Go Devils, Forks Up, ASU. Like, I love this stuff, but so much change has happened. Things are moving at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And I feel for agents and I feel for loan officers because they're just trying to keep up. They also have jobs to do. They also have houses to show, houses to sell, applications to take, loans to close. And they're doing what they really signed up to do. But they also have to be able to have a personal brand,
Yep.
And I can't tell you if I had $1 for every loan officer or agent that said to me, oh my gosh, I didn't know I don't want to do marketing. That's not what I signed up to do. I'm really good at guidelines. I'm really good at getting a person into a home. I know what kind of down payment they need. I know how to make this work. But, we can't resist that is actually what is happening today. And as opposed to resisting saying, I don't want to, you better just lean in. And you better figure it out because the personal brand is how you're going to get the opportunities to take more applications. It is how you're going to have more opportunities to open and put a key in a door and walk into a home as an agent. And if your personal brand is not thriving out there on social, we all know that it's then dying. And it's not to sound so dramatic, but we spend enough time listening to speakers like Neil Dingra, right? Like he's been sharing that for how long, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so many other incredible speakers or voices throughout our industry have been saying that. And as brokerages continue to condense and people continue to merge, for me, I think that there is there's nothing more important than an agent right now creating a personal brand. Because a lot of the other stuff is all kind of starting to become the same of who they work for, and the different companies that you got to stand out.
Yeah. And I was curious, like, what have you seen maybe for like a specific loan officer who was maybe either reluctant to do it and then stepped in and they saw something change in their
Yeah.
business? Or
So I have such a great story on that exact topic. Shout out, her name is Lindy Paulus. She's an incredible loan officer out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Actually, I think she makes Park City her home. But she was an originator, been in the business for a bit, but she was doing a lot of the traditional sales tactics, right? Make the phone calls, do this, do that, and it just wasn't filling her cup. But she knew she had to change. She had to change. She had to do something. And she ended up leaning into video. She's not your super outgoing type that is like, I can't wait to get behind camera, which I don't know many people, myself
it's
included.
not many.
Yeah, that are like, let's roll. But she did it anyway. And she ended up having remarkable numbers. I don't know if it was 2024 or 2023, but she doubled her business in a really hard market where most were either getting out of the business or they were definitely doing half the business they were doing. She took to video. She stayed consistent. She changed her ways, and it worked for her. And the thing is that it worked for her because she was starting to see, that, okay, this is starting to move the needle. And I think it also just depends on an originator and agent. They need to start to see something.
Yeah.
And if it's traditional tactics that you see the change in, then great, stay there, keep doing it. But make sure you keep one eye on what's going on here with marketing so you're not so completely off. But I think too many people try to do what somebody says to do or do what, the silver or the shiny object syndrome.
Object.
Oh, look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. And they're not doing what fills them up
Yeah.
and what they love. And I think the more that any of us in any of our seats can do more of what we love, more business will come.
Yeah, and I think another thing that you kind of mentioned that's one of the big reasons is
Yeah.
like, for example, you've been consistent in the mortgage industry for a long time, and for example, she was consistent with video, and it's like that
Yes.
consistency is a big piece.
I mean, how many times have we heard consistency is key? But I tell you what, my dear friend Richard Gerback said, success leaves clues. 100%. You want to look at any person, real estate, mortgage, you look at their numbers, you look at their volume, they for sure have clues. Like you will be able to see what they did to get where they did. And a lot of times, most of the times, you will see that they are the most consistent in their market. They are the most consistent. Whether, you know, listen, it's Friday. We're filming this podcast. It's been a long week. Like, I would love a whole little work from home situation right now and just crank through things. But it's the times that you show up, even when you don't want to. And I wanted to be here. Don't get me wrong. I'm just using it as an analogy
Yeah,
of that's where I just feel like the consistency comes in is you show up no matter how bad maybe you don't want to. You keep showing up and you don't stop. And that is where I believe you look at anybody's book of business in this industry and it all comes back to that.
yeah,
Somebody recently said too, if you just don't stop and you keep going, the universe is eventually gonna give it back to you. And it's true, right?
yeah,
But when you just stop halfway through, or you keep changing your mind, or maybe you keep switching brokerages, or you keep changing mortgage companies, sometimes you got to look a little bit further, at okay, why do people keep changing? Like we need to figure out what that is, get consistent, and then go all in.
yeah. It's being consistent over the long run that makes the biggest difference.
Yes.
And I'm curious, like from your lens, what is different, like doing marketing from like, for example, a branch level in a region level? Like, what do you have to like learn? What's the difference between building a brand as like a company
Yeah.
versus like a person?
That is a great question. I love this interview that we're doing right now, this podcast. This is killer. This guy is amazing.
Appreciate
Keep
it.
up the great work. It's different because what we call it the street,
Hmm.
right? Here at Fairway, we call it the street. Here in the branch, we call it the street. We cannot do what we do without insane amount of support behind us at Fairway, right? Fairway's support and speed is first class, top class. Like they know how to close loans like I've never seen. It's quick, it's fast, it's efficient. Everybody at corporate is like this longevity of 20 years plus with with the organization. And so they're doing that end of it, but those of us that are out here in the street shaking hands, creating relationships, going to events, the branding portion starts to look a little different, right? And I believe that is a real is a massive weapon to being able to building a powerful brand.
Yeah.
Is not just what a seat that maybe isn't in the street is telling you to do because they're hearing it from conferences they go to or places and people they're with, that is like, this is going to be the next big thing. But when I'm actually seeing and hearing from real estate agents on the daily, and Phoenix being one of the most cutthroat markets out there, I mean, even prior to COVID, I mean, everybody tests in Phoenix. The price point compared to California. And so for us as lenders to be able to, just win and do those kinds of numbers, we had no other choice than to be leading with innovation and leading with cutting edge and leading with what's next, what's to come. And out of that, you just start documenting what you're doing and how you serve and telling the story. That personal brand all of a sudden takes off for you without having to put this like, you know, canned content together,
Yeah.
without having to put like marketing in a box. I always say too many companies tell you this is what we're going to have you do, as opposed to we lead with, we want to meet you where you are. We want to hear what makes you as a loan officer shine. Like, what are the things that you're involved in? So More of meeting people with where they're at because the marketing word and world is so big. It's a behemoth of how many different lanes you could go down. So you really have to start listening to the people that are around you to help in order to build their personal brand. And for us, in particularly when we call it crash landed at Fairway, we made a move from a previous mortgage company here in town, and Fairway was number 69 in the marketplace when we made a move. I had been in the industry at that point in time for well over a decade, been in Phoenix all my life, and I had never even heard of Fairway. And in 36 months, we became the number one purchase lender in Arizona, which is a massive, like I'm still high from that because that is like hard to do and we did it. But we did it by telling our story because I had no other choice when you're talking about the coffee meetings and then how you move.
Yep.
Everywhere we went that first year, I mean, week after week, month after month at all these events, they're like, where'd you move? Where'd you go? Fairway? Oh my gosh, I've never heard of Fairway. Who is that? What is that? Why'd you guys make that decision? And I remember exactly where I was sitting in which office when I was like, oh boy, there's no other way to get this message out to everybody we're working with than on social. And at that point in time, it was predominantly Facebook. And I was like, forget it. I'm just going to start sharing our story on Facebook. All my agents are already there. Start telling everybody who we are. And by year 2, it was like, oh, yeah, I've kind of heard of Fairway. By year 3, they're like, oh my gosh, we love you guys. We know exactly who you are. We were sharing who we were hiring. We were sharing, how we were breaking bread together, how we were eating lunch together, having dinner together, how we were just like pouring in, having fun, smiles on our faces, real videos, real interviews. And it creates that momentum. And people are like, huh, what are they up to? Phone's ringing. It's like, oh, yeah, let's talk. Do you want to come? Do you want to join? And we had a lot of that. And that was just because we started to build some really grassroots marketing efforts based around personal brand and storytelling from the street perspective here in the Phoenix market, as opposed to, doing what other people say you should do or an article or something like that.
So a mix of kind of like showing the day to day,
Yeah.
like interviewing, kind of like a podcasting style, or
Yeah, and like, hey, 11 years ago, there was no podcast going on, right? Like, that wasn't happening, but it was taking to video 11 years ago before, a lot of people were. Chelsea Pites was encouraging me to start doing video. And not the video you see today out on Instagram, right? A lot of
Yeah.
the killer stuff, people like Hashim and Connor and Eric that around the country are doing, but the kind of video where you just had to show up and just be brave enough to make a video.
Just an iPhone.
Just an iPhone and, good old selfie style. But I was so nervous to do it. This is a funny story that I decided to practice in Snapchat. And this is, a solid 10 years ago because I felt like I really didn't have a big audience out there. Nobody would really see me. So Chelsea was like helping me. She's like, Haley, you just got to start every single video every single morning with the same message. And that was, with some personal in there too. I'm part Hawaiian. I love everything aloha and the ocean and ohana. But it was, welcome to Haley Snaps, where I snap all things Phoenix, Fairway, marketing, and aloha. And I started every video, every week, every day with that. And I had no idea that my followers were growing out on Snapchat until I went to go make one of my videos at this fundraising on a baseball field, Scottsdale Center Complex or something like that. And there was agents benefiting children. And there was a couple hundred agents there. We're all getting ready to have a really fun day. And I start to do the video. And all of a sudden, one of my friends comes up alongside of me, jumps in this in this shot, and recites the entire thing with me. I was like, you know that? She's like, are you kidding me? I start every morning with that. I love it. It's so fun. It always gets me going. And it was like, oh, wow, people are watching. And it doesn't have to be something where people are watching and it's scary. It could be like, oh, man, like she starts her day with that. I'm a huge believer in positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Love myself a good quote. I might still start every day with a good quote. But yeah, it was just starting to lean into video before really anybody else was. And we just started to really tell our story. And I think that street perspective was really powerful to help us grow.
Yeah, it'd be equivalent to like doing Instagram stories and just using that because it goes away every 24 hours.
Yes, yeah,
So
totally equivalent. It was pre Instagram stories.
nice. So I'm curious, like, why did Elevate even get started?
Wow, great question too. Know that answer off the top of my head as well. Completely inspired by the Forward event. I had the opportunity, gosh, just last year. It feels like I've known Neil forever, but I was able, well, I met him a couple years ago, but anyway, I was able to say to him, like, your Forward event single handedly inspired me. I walked into that room. I knew, like, I could feel the energy, the people, the vibe. And it had been something that had been in the back of my mind for a while, for many years, was to create some sort of event. There's all kinds of events going on in our industries across every single city and state. Out here in Phoenix, no doubt that continued. There's just events everywhere.
Yeah,
And at that time, though, it was the summer of 2023, and the market was hard and
tough.
it was tough. And I left there from his Ford event and getting my morning walk in, clearing my head, jamming out to music. It's like my therapy. Like, I got to listen to music volume 10. And it just dawned on me, I'm like, why aren't we doing that here in Phoenix? And we should 100% create an event that, shows that to our competition too. We're still playing. It's actually a huge slogan of Fairways is to keep playing. I mean, that's been around forever. Our incredible CEO, he leads with that every single day. I mean, keep playing is a massive thing. And so much so that, why not us? Keep playing was in my head that we need to keep playing no matter how hard this market is right now. We have to keep showing up. And picked up the phone, called John. He is president of branch production across the country, one of the sharpest mind in mortgage with the amount of volume sheerly alone him and Rick have done is outstanding. They've just handled things so incredible through so many different markets, through the span of last 10 years, 15 years, you name it. But I called John and I was like, I have an idea. And it's kind of like a joke between us. And it's like, oh, Haley says she has an idea. And I just said, what if we did an event here locally? We brought in some speakers, we turned it all the way up, and it's dead of summer right here in Phoenix right now. I think I could pull this off in the next 60, 90 days. Got this incredible team. The Fairway Southwest marketing and biz dev team is just lights out, the greatest. And together I knew we could do it. And I'm like, why not close the year, get ready for, going into the following year. We got this sweet window, the sweet spot right now, but we got to move and we got to move quick. And just so grateful who you surround yourself with, without a shadow of a doubt, matters. And I'm so grateful that John was like, Haley, let's go. Like, he didn't even create paralysis by analysis. He didn't overthink it. That's one of the reasons I love working with him and Rick, is that we move every day. We don't get stuck in the maybe, should we, I don't know. And that's the beautiful part, like we talked about, when you create that team,
Yeah.
right? Like, what they're capable of. You know that if your team member's coming to you and is like, I have an idea, you got to trust them. And you're like, this is okay. We should probably roll.
Let's test it.
Let's go. And he did. And he's like, let's get it going immediately. And, with his support and Fairway support, we were able to pull off our first Elevate event in just over 60 days, pack the house with close to 400 real estate agents that fall. And it was lights out. The energy, every loan officer and agent that was able to attend, it was like surreal for me at the happy hour afterwards to hear, I needed this. Oh my gosh, did I need this? I needed to not be on another Zoom. I needed to be in person. I needed to hear for myself. I needed to get dressed up, show up, and commit a full day to getting better. And it it was, I still think back to that patio, that happy hour at the Westin. You could just hear the energy, feel the excitement. And when you start to hear those kinds of comments from agents who were like, thank you, and great agents too, mind you. Like, not agents who are, just getting started or not doing a lot of business, agents that are even doing a lot of business. And it was neat too, because having the loan officer and the agent in the room learning together, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's agent events and then it's loan officer events. And so when you have the ability as a lender and an agent to strengthen your relationship and learn together and then walk away and hold each other accountable because you heard the same message, you're like, oh yeah, I loved when Arjun did that. I want to make sure and do it. Great. Let's hold each other accountable from this point forward. So that was really the reason we did it, was to keep showing up, to keep playing, to making sure we were providing positivity and encouragement, giving back, and bringing community together. In short, is really the Elevate event is brand mindset and business. But then from there, it just took off and is now, so many different things. But that is at the core what it will always be about.
Really quickly, before we get back into the episode, do you want to grow a hyper-local media company like Kyle Talbot? He added 20 million in sales to his real estate business using Instagram and YouTube. And I created a completely free playbook in the description below. It goes over all of his templates, everything that he used to grow over 70,000 followers on Instagram, 10,000 on YouTube. So if you want to download it and implement it in your business today, click the link below and download it. It's completely free. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, showing up in especially down markets is super important.
Yeah.
But throwing an event, one, it's expensive. Two, it's time intensive. It's like throwing a wedding. And
Yeah.
for you to kind of basically start a whole new division, Elevate, and then them to be like, okay, we need a president. Like, there had to be a business decision around that.
Yes.
So I'm curious, just from like a business mind, like what have you seen as the impact of like doing Elevate?
Yeah. Like I said, I could just keep talking to you forever. You're asking me all my favorite questions. These are the things I love to talk about. The impact, I will say, is, gosh, we touched down in like 8 different cities across the country last year, 2024.
That's wild.
Wild. Ask Ashley Corona. It's wild. And some of our other incredible teammates. And then I think we're going to wrap with 7 this year. We still have 2 more to go, Austin and Vegas. And so many different markets that we've gone into, from Boston to Birmingham, Alabama, to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to we did 2 in Chicago, to big markets, right?
Yeah.
Seattle. But the impact is we've now gotten used to this, right? Out here in Phoenix, we've been rolling with events. When you talk about it being expensive, I mean, I can figure out how I've thrown so many, even from broker opens to CE classes. I mean, you name it, right? The trajectory of the events that we had been always throwing with Fairway, the Tobias team, et cetera, has just kind of been who we were. But I took it for granted a little bit, and I didn't realize, like, I just thought that most markets did that too. And the impact is when we have gone into some of these markets that has never had an event like that. And that also, maybe some of those Fairway offices had never come together like that. Right? Because, everybody's doing their thing. Everybody, like, we're all a big family, but everybody gets locked into their own world.
Yep.
And so building community within Fairway has been a massive impact of, different branches coming together. And then also the impact into some of these other communities, like the agents. They didn't have to go spend money on an airline ticket.
Yep.
They didn't have to go spend money on a hotel. They just had to jump in their car and, maybe drive 20 minutes or maybe 2.5 hours. But they're able to now get that national style conference material. But local.
Yeah.
Because the market's been so tough, right? So it's like all these agents are struggling, all these loan officers are struggling, but yet the only way you can get top tier information is to be, pouring in a lot of dollars in order to get it. And hey, all these conferences that people fly to, I still do. I mean, I leave on Monday to go to Housing Wire, which throws some of the greatest events out there. They're all really important, but we serve a huge country, this industry. There are so many people that we can still impact, that still need our help, that are licensed agents and loan officers, that it's been really cool to go to them and be in their backyard. And, the event has just continued to build and grow.
That's awesome. And I was curious because I imagine filling the seats is like one of the hardest part. My thought is
Yes.
the big thing that probably moves the needle is probably the speakers and the topics. How do you think through that to be able to be like, okay, we want good people here and the right type of speakers?
Yeah. Listen, the second call I made after John was 2 years ago to Arjun Dhingra. I had just come off a Housing Wire panel with him earlier that year. We had gotten to know each other and we just became instant best friends. We were same speed, same energy, same positivity. How can we help each other? And I was like, Arjun, I have this idea. I think I'm going to throw this event. And he was like, all right, I think this is fantastic. I got you. Let's do it. I'm here to support you. Let's think this through. So to answer your question in short, you got to have, again, people around you that you trust and that believe in you. And you have to brainstorm with them. And you got to start leaning into other people. I love how this industry has really started to shift, because not even 3 years ago, it would have been insane to bring a speaker from another mortgage company into another mortgage company.
Yeah.
It would have been insane to say, I'm at Fairway and I'm hosting an event. Only Fairway can come. Or I said that all wrong, but you get what I'm saying, that I would ever open up my doors to other lenders. I mean, because that was the norm for a long time. Actually, that's the only norm in this industry.
It's just a company-specific event.
Yeah,
usually.
always. What are you doing here? I mean, title companies too, right?
Real
Title
estate
companies,
as well.
Title companies aren't going to bring another title company into their event. But it's shifted over the last couple of years. That's one of the things that I believe through this really down market, this really tough market, is people have really started to pour into collaboration and community and helping each other. And, here's Arjun, who's working at a different mortgage company than I am, but we're two people that are just trying to work hard. We have our why, we have our kids, we have things that we want to do and people we need to support, like our beautiful children. We have to keep innovating and we have to keep those conversations going. And it's crazy cool. It's one of my favorite things. I've actually really never talked about it until this podcast right now. That's one of the best things that I think is happening in this industry, is how collaboration across all companies, because we're all in this together. I mean, truly. And we will be able to serve our end consumer and get more people into homes the more we work together as opposed to against each other. And so having those kinds of people around you to help you decide which speakers, to help you decide what is the event going to look like, overall cost, cadence, speed, I know for certain, I don't think I would have ever been able to pull off the Elevate event like that in 60 days, regardless of how many incredible teammates I had around me, if I hadn't been consistent in my efforts in this industry 20 years prior, right? And that is through relationships and networking and treating people right, because you never know when all of a sudden you have the opportunity to throw a really cool event. And I start thinking about the cost. Well, let's bring in sponsors. Oh, great. I know a ton, right? I have been doing this for a long time. It's easy for me to go through my phone and start calling on people just because I've had the opportunity to connect with so many. And I think more people that can take time to truly connect with people, like Arjun took time to really connect with me, and not just a quick handshake. How are you? Great, cool. I'll never see you again. But really start to see the person who's standing in front of you as a person, how are you? How can I help you? What are you going through today? all that can lead to some of the greatest relationships. I
Yeah.
mean, and I think we overlook those simple things of just extending our hand with a handshake, but asking questions that show you really care about the people and the business. I mean, there's so many entrepreneurs in this business when it comes to our sponsors, right? That Josh Pitts is another one of them with Shred It. He created an incredible platform. I got a chance to meet him, but like when we connected, it was just like, oh my gosh, like we just talked about our personal lives and our similarities and how we handle business. And then here we are, he's still doing his thing, I'm doing mine. It's like, yeah, let's collaborate, let's go. But if I would have never taken the time to really get to know these people, or anybody, not just me, but
Yeah.
anybody taking time to get to know who you are working with, um, that helps become a huge difference maker in throwing events. Because it'll make me choke up a little bit when I think about that very first event when I walked out from behind the stage and I saw all those sponsors and vendors there. And like I knew the first name of every single one of them and that they all showed up for us because they believed in us and the event we were throwing, and they dropped like at a second's notice and created space and time in their day to come show up. I mean, that's cool stuff, but you got to start small, you got to start somewhere, and then these events, they can turn into, more than you could ever imagine. But AI is such a powerful tool. It's talked about nonstop, all day, every day. But to quote Chris Do, the thinking really continues to need to start with the human. And then you have the AI do the work, as opposed to everybody's having the AI do the thinking. And then everybody's going to turn out and look and sound exactly the same. Right?
Yep.
And that's just where you have to start approaching with like events and everything. Like you need to be able to think and dream and, talk to people and network and communicate and then use power of AI. That's the success right there. That's the secret sauce. That's the equation.
Yeah.
But too many people don't want to take the time anymore to get out there.
I'm curious, when you look at like to be able to scale it locally across like 8 different cities, like you have to have the logistics dialed in, you have to have the cost dialed in. What have you kind of learned about that have allowed you to kind of scale it?
I've learned a ton. That list, I mean, where's the whiteboard? It's in my office. Let's go get the Sharpie. The dry erase. So with Fairway being one of the top 3 lenders in the country, right? We're in every 50 states. We have offices and people are dialed. So we're able to go into these markets and bring the blueprint, bring the platform, the logistics and everything of how the event's going to run. But then the people, like, so in Austin, for example, they're responsible mainly for getting their agents there.
Nice.
So that's how we've been able to have success. I mean, if we were just going into these markets with Fairway not having a presence in any of them, or just going into an open market, I mean, our marketing strategy would look really different. Our marketing strategy, biz dev strategy, is we go to the local biz dev, the local marketers, and say, all right, friends, let's go. And they're excited because they're like, heck yeah, let's do this event. Like, they can't wait. They get an opportunity to promote it and lean into it. And, we tried to, said a few times, I love music. And we tried to bring an event that the energy is very, very current. That we are very much in this modern mortgage marketing space. And so a lot of the marketers in biz dev, they feel they're those same people. They want to continue to make, really big waves themselves. And so it's like the brand matches the brand.
Yeah.
And that allows us to be able to fill those seats, because you are correct, my friend. Filling seats is one of the toughest things to do in the event space, right? Because depending, like out here in Arizona, April and October, 2 busiest event months of the year. Other markets I know have the same. The months might change. But out here, and like the weather's perfect, right? The weather is perfect. We're in the perfect weather season time right now. And there's so many events going on. So how do you stand out and get that agent's attention?
Yeah.
Or loan officer's attention? And you're like, no, come to this one. We want you here. that takes a lot of strategy from us, myself, Ashley Corona, to think through and be like, okay, who are the speakers going to be? If we're going to Seattle, we know we need to be bringing X speakers. If we are going to, a different market like Orlando, or, we really read the room of the divisionals, the branch managers, the, people putting on the event, of what they're looking for, what's behind the scenes in it for them. Maybe some of our loan officers, it's a recruiting tool, recruiting platform. But like every market is different, and we do take a lot of time curating content and speakers that are going to speak to those markets.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned like first, basically it's like you kind of like almost like white label. It's like you built the blueprint once, and you're like, great, now we can just bring it in,
Yeah.
and then you plug in, rather than, oh, we're just going to throw an event and then try to market it.
Yes.
So
yes, just try to market it. That's tough.
Yeah.
One of the coolest cities we went to this year was Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Clearly, without a doubt, for me, the reason it was one of the greatest is because those people were so thankful we came into their market. They're like, nobody ever comes here. Nobody ever, pours into us. We're always having to leave. We're always having. So like that shined really bright for those branch managers and loan officers who were able to bring in that kind of value. So it's cool, right?
It's looking for those like hidden gem cities that like events don't come to it all the time. Like if everyone goes to Vegas.
Everybody goes to Vegas. We're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, our sweet friend Hashim, all the way in February. I blame him wholeheartely. He might be sitting in this room. He told me he's responsible for getting 200 people there, because this was, just something we were laughing about. But he's like, why haven't you done Vegas yet? I'm like, oh my God, it's so crazy. It hasn't even crossed my mind. We've been so busy. But it is, right? Everybody does Vegas. Super excited. We can't wait. Bellagio, November 13th. It's going to be an incredible couple days. But yeah, when we started hosting in cities that aren't as common, or maybe also venues too, we just wrapped at Mile High Stadium in Denver, which was an unbelievable experience.
Crazy, yeah.
It was so cool. And it was just like, again, creating that experience, that excitement that's going to stand out differently. We're doing the Gillette Stadium in Boston. Already have the date for October 2026.
That's wild.
Wild. And like my son, he turns 20 this month, and he played football his whole life and finished his senior year, but we're just a big football family. And he's like, Mom, you're doing Elevate where? And I'm like, isn't this insane?
He's like, you're doing it in all the stadiums? Do I get to come?
Yeah, I went to Post Malone's big tour stadium this summer. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so fun. Like, we're just having a good time with it. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm on a stadium tour myself. So, but just thinking outside of the box and having fun is so important, right? Like, you gotta love what you do. You gotta have fun with the people that you're doing it with. The audience, the agents, they need to see it. They need to feel it from the stage. Like, they just need to feel that they're not being sold to.
Yep.
And I did a keynote for Housing Wire last year, and it was called Stop Selling, It's Boring. Rather start talking about telling your story, branding, or whatever. But the stop selling, it's boring is so true. People got ridiculously smart during COVID with the way that they ingest social content, the way that they believe people from behind their phones, because they spent so much time at home, and they know when they're being sold to, and some people who are making videos out there on social who are just doing nothing but selling, it is like, forget it. Like, out of here. Like, I'm not even going to listen. I'm going to just keep scrolling. You have to tell people what you're doing. And too many agents leave the best part of their story on the shelf, because they guarantee you get in their car after that closing and was like, oh my God, they called their husband, their wife, their brother, their sister, their auntie, their friend, and was like, That was the toughest deal of my life. I am so glad it closed. You know what we had to do? We had to pull this from over here, and then the title company did this, and we are able. It's like, you guys, that's what you do for a living. That's incredible how you serve your clients. That's incredible how you work together. That's what needs to be showing up on social. And so people can read your story versus trying to sell them to call me today with a huge key in their hand.
Yeah.
It's like really shifting that mindset
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah. Goes back to what you said earlier, sharing the journey, sharing the story, not just like, here's this new listing, buy this new listing.
Here's this new listing, call me. Here's this new product. Here's this new loan program. Got to say why this loan program is going to help. Because in the real estate and mortgage space, we take for granted too much of our own jargon that we speak. Right? Like everybody's throwing around acronyms and phrases and sayings and stuff. And when you're in the mortgage office, you're at a real estate event, great. You could talk that all day long. People understand our language. But the end consumer has no clue. I mean, and sometimes you forget, you think everybody's, especially out here in Phoenix, like everybody is in real estate or mortgage one way or another, some capacity. It feels like you just take it for granted and you think everybody knows what you're talking about. But there are so many people that aren't even close to anywhere in our field. And it's our responsibility to really start sharing what a DPA means or what this means. Or, I was just also out in San Diego a couple of weeks ago for NAREP, which, is an incredible chapter in this industry too. And, there's just so many people we have the ability to connect with and make an impact and help and serve. But we really have to start. We really have to start. Did you hear me? Oh my God. We really have to start sharing the real information that's going to connect with the end consumer that they can understand. Just so you know, start and sharing, don't say next to each other.
Really quickly, before we get back into the episode, did you know that email beats the ROI of social media 40-1? If you want to turn your email list into more listing appointments, then you need to check out Ella. Ella is the only email marketing agency for real estate agents. We help you build a hyper-local email newsletter. We also send conversation starter emails, and we do way more. So you can turn your email into a profitable marketing channel this year. Click the link below. Check it out. Hope to see you in there. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, I agree. And really quick, talking about like making it valuable, like the economics also just have to work as well. So I'm just curious, like if you had to like look at the economics as a pie or like a pizza, and you look at like how do we make either the event profitable or how do we spread out the costs or what do we do to like economically make it work?
Yeah.
Like how do you think that is like some of the costs is carried on at corporate and then some of it's carried on local percentage?
That's a whole nother episode. That is a whole other episode to dive into because
and you don't have to give specifics, but just like rough, like just how to think through
that. Well, John always said, everybody, you have to have skin in the game. You have to have skin in the game, period. Yeah. Right? So if it's the Elevate event and, Denver wants to throw an event, how many branch managers want to be a part of it? How much are you willing to throw in your hat in the ring?
Yeah.
And then Fairway is incredible and comes behind with some of it. We keep changing up the model because things keep changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a good cadence that works out. We're able to,
and then you pull and get vendors and sponsors.
Collect money via sponsorships, through ticket sales, through all of that. So it's a pizza pie. And there's an equation behind it all, and we're forever learning and growing and figuring out best practices for it. But I think at the end of the day, you can't ever expect to have anything done for you. You have to put in the work. You got to have skin in the game. And the more that you do those two things right there will lead to the results.
Yeah.
Will lead to the momentum, the branding, the energy, the transactions, the connections, all of that. But you have to be willing to put in the hard work. And Elevate is a true testament to a lot of hours and a lot of time and dedication. we have poured into it, and so many people have over the course of several years that I am forever a student of gratitude for how much people have poured in.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier like consolidation happening in the industry. We
Yeah.
talked about building a personal brand, elevate forward. Like, what do you see as like the future of the mortgage industry, and like
Yeah.
what should we be like building towards?
The future of the mortgage industry, I think, is looking extremely bright. I was at Housing Wire's AI conference, gosh, August maybe it was. They had a video that just blew my mind on housing and the future. You take the specifics of marketing around that and what the future of mortgage marketing looks like,
Yeah,
and that is a lot more people getting extremely efficient, but continuing to stand out and make some noise, because we do risk everything becoming very step and repeat and copy and paste right now. That part scares me because of how much people are using AI and how much they're kind of using AI in the wrong way. Because it just loops and loops and loops. I mean, don't even get Chelsea Pites and I started on that conversation. Thank goodness we were in Kansas City together breaking it down. But that, I just don't want to see too many people just start to use AI, like I said, to think for themselves, and then all the, branding is going to be the same because it's
yeah,
just looping the internet.
it's just the same thing.
Yeah, so you just have to continue to innovate. I think the future of mortgage marketing is going to be a combination, and right now we're talking about delivering the digital edge. We're talking about really rewording some phrases out there, because what was working in the past isn't going to be what carries us forward to the future, as a lot of people are burnt out on certain topics.
Yeah,
So we really have to just continue to stay curious and continue to stay creative. And, what works for a 25-year-old out on social that's super trending and everything is not going to resonate with the end consumer who's maybe 55 at home and still has, a lot of, like, they still want to play in the mortgage space. They want to buy a home for their kid in college. They want to buy a second home. They want to, move up or downsize. I mean, but if you are attacking a marketing approach with just like a very young, trending 24-year-old, 25-year-old mindset, that isn't going to equate to everybody. So we
yeah,
have to continue to talk to all. And I think the companies that continue to talk to all and encourage all are going to be the ones that really make it and thrive, as opposed to just listening to certain aspects. At least that's what I see happening right now.
yeah. And do you see, like, is it a mix of like one for mortgage professionals to go for their referral partners and then also the end consumer, or like what's your thought on like marketing?
Say that again.
A lot of like mortgage professionals kind of focus, for example, on like their real estate partners, and then not as much focus on the consumer.
Oh,
And,
yes.
and I'm curious, like, what's going to be the balance there?
All again. All. You have to start with a niche,
Yeah.
and a niche will grow to all. And but you can't just focus on real estate agents right now, as a mortgage professional, because, and I don't say that in like in any kind of bad situation or whatever, but you just have such a huge audience out on social.
Yeah.
And so focus on your agents, plus focus on making sure that you're getting the end consumer message out there and out there correctly, because every person that we come across could potentially need a home. And just like for a real estate agent too, right? So when they continue to, focus on the client, they also need to remember to focus on their partners and their resources around them, so they can continue to throw bigger events or play bigger, because again, it's not just about one. And
Yeah.
I think we're wrapping this podcast right about now, which I think is fitting, because we started talking about, a lot can be done with the power of one, but it always takes a team. And I think a real estate agent and a lender, you're going to need to continue to work with everybody and get a really broad message out after you have started with a very niche way to get in.
Yeah. And if people want more, where should they go to follow you?
Absolutely. Out on Snapchat. Just kidding. Instagram, Haley dot my middle name, How Nunny. You'll find me immediately. It's Hawaiian, but the Elevate event page out on Instagram, Facebook. I'm massive on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I had LinkedIn before I had Facebook. So I continue to play out there a lot too. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, definitely check you out, see what you're building. And curious, you've seen a lot over the years. You've played at a lot of different levels. What does world-class leadership in the mortgage industry mean to you?
Whoa, that's a great question because you just saw my reaction. World class leadership, what that means to me, it's simple because it means a lot to me. I think we all grow when we are led with really authentic principles. And when you lead with confidence as opposed to fear, that's what world class leadership looks like to me. Because when you have your leader telling you, you can do this, you've got this, we've got it, you're not alone. How can we help you? How can we get better? What can we do together? Let's figure out a solution. The leader that leads with confidence of having the ability to have the hard conversations and be able to tell me with grace and say, this could have been done better. I want to be transparent with you. Showing up, having the transparent conversations as opposed to behind the doors, in silos, in secrecy, in talking as opposed to sitting at the table and talking together. Like that's world class leaderships, transparency, and for the people in the seats too to know we have to take constructive criticism. We have to be open to feedback. We cannot be led with these egos that we are the greatest at everything. We can always get better. And but for me, in short, between John and Rick, and I'll just use them as examples because I've worked with them the longest in my career, they have always led that way. And for myself, I have always in turn thrived because of that kind of world class leadership of positivity and helping and confidence has been a massive game changer for me.